Learn to make floor cloths with an expert. Kathy Cooper takes you through her techniques and tips for creating a successful floor cloth. Experience her workshop in your home as she guides you through the construction, design, and completion of a floor cloth. You'll learn about the history, see examples of contemporary work, and hear how to avoid common mistakes. Her insights from years of practice and extensive research will help you gain the confidence, technical skills, and creative inspiration to create your own beautiful floor cloths. Making Floor Cloths with Kathy Cooper is the first video workshop offered on this rediscovered art form. For more inspiration on this subject, look for her books, Painting Floor Cloths, 20 Canvas Rugs to Stamp, Stencil, Sponge, or Spatter in a Weekend, and the Complete Book of Floor Cloths.
Hi, my name is Kathy Cooper. Welcome to my painting studio. Today I'm going to share with you what I have learned about making floor cloths. I started making floor cloths totally by accident and without much painting experience. I was cleaning my studio in Maine and came across some pre-primed canvas. At the time, I was involved in a renovation project on an old Cape Cod style farmhouse and thought a painted rug would be the perfect accent for my country home. I took some of my early rugs to a few shows and they stirred up quite a lot of interest. They were so popular that a store in New York started carrying them and I was able to paint full time. My methods were refined over years of practice and lots of trial and error. That led me to write 2 books on the subject. I loved making floor cloths and wanted to share my ideas teaching others. It is fun for me to take students through the process and watch them get hooked on making rugs. I often hear them say how pleasurable painting is and how manageable making a floor cloth is. I hope this video will help you get started making floor cloths. Floor cloths are one of the earliest forms of floor coverings and were quite popular in England in the 1700s. A painted floor cloth was made of heavy canvas which had been stretched and sized, then troweled with oil paint made of linseed oil and pigments. It was finished with block printing, stenciling, or hand painting. Patterns were borrowed from popular pavement designs or from other sources like woven carpets or wallpaper. Floor coverings were not affordable to the entire population, and the investment in a floor cloth was documented in wills and deeds. Good quality was important, and painters advertised their skills. The popularity of floor cloths continued throughout the 1800s. They were the first washable floor covering, easily cleaned from dirt and spills. By the turn of the 20th century, floor cloths had been replaced with a newer product called linoleum. The beautiful floor cloths of the past would have faded from our history entirely had it not been for a resurgence of interest in the 1960s. Museums looking for authentic floor coverings for period restorations commissioned artists to recreate floor cloths. With little written instructions available, artists were left to experiment in their own interpretation of painted canvas rugs. Today's floor cloth artists are producing a broad selection of floor cloths. The designs range from the traditional, hand-painted, or stenciled to all kinds of other surface decorations. Floor cloths are unique because they can be custom-sized, custom-designed, and custom-colored for each home. As a floor covering, they offer a waterproof surface that wipes clean. As a painting on the floor, they offer unlimited design and color opportunities to create art for the floor. To get started on your floor cloth, you will need some canvas. There are many choices available to you since canvas is made in different widths, a variety of weights, and can be purchased unprimed or primed. If you decided to buy unprimed canvas, you will need to prime the surface to prepare it for painting. This step levels the weave of the fabric and creates a smooth, reflective surface for you to paint on. You no longer need to stretch the fabric if you plan to use acrylic gesso as the primer. Gesso is a special paint product that is available at art supply stores. In this video, we're going to use pre-primed canvas. Pre-primed canvas also comes in a variety of styles, and I'm recommending the Dixie 123 from Frederick's Canvas. It is a heavy grade of canvas and double primed on one side. This will allow us to quickly make a hemmed floor cloth. Pre-primed canvas is also much smoother to paint on and readily takes the acrylic paints. Be sure to purchase enough for the finished size of your piece and allow a 2-inch surplus on each side for the hem. Now that you have your canvas, you need to mark a hem. I think it helps to get the hem in at the beginning, and then you will know exactly where the edge of your floor cloth is. If a problem is going to occur, it's much better to get it fixed before you have spent time painting your design. The hem is the greatest area of difficulty, but with these easy directions, you will be able to master it quite quickly. We're using a 2-inch wide hem to match the width of the 2-inch wide self-sticking carpet tape. If you use narrower tape, adjust your hem to match the width. Some of the basic tools for creating the hem are a good yardstick or straight edge, a right angle, a pencil, art gum eraser, scissors, and commercial grade double stick carpet tape. Carpet tape is available in the carpet section of your local home supply store. It is used to lay carpet. Purchase commercial grade for a strong hem. Later you can experiment with other types of hems using contact cement or glue guns. To mark your hem, lay the canvas pre-primed side up and create a straight line 2 inches from the edge. I'm starting on the long side. On the left end of this line, measure 2 inches from the outside edge and make a mark. Set the right angle on this mark and lay the straight edge on top to create a perpendicular line. Pencil this side. You will need to repeat this process on each of the corners of your floor cloth until you have a pencil shape that is either a square or rectangle with a 2-inch border showing all the way around the floor cloth. The corners should appear square with 2 lines that intersect on each one. If you need to make adjustments, this is the time to erase your lines. Be sure to use a good quality eraser. I use an art gum or a large white eraser. To trim the corner, we're going to pencil a triangle over each one. This will give you something similar to a mitered corner, but easier to control. Lay the right angle across the corner. Mark an angled line on the short hems. Remove the corner with scissors. Repeat this process on each of the corners of your floor cloth. You should have 2 long sides with straight hems and 2 short sides with angled hems. Next, flip the canvas over to pre-fold the hem. Lay the straight edge on the inside of the hem, following where the pencil line would be. Gently fold the canvas over the straight edge to pre-fold the hem. Run the tape along the inside of the fold. Peel back the protective coating. This is always the hardest part. And press into place. You can check the pencil line for accuracy. Use the roll of tape like an iron and press the hem firmly onto the tape. You should end up with a nice clean hem. Repeat this process on the other long side. The short ends are folded last. After applying the tape, trim the ends to match the angles. Peel back the protective coating and press into place. Use the roll of tape like an iron and press the hem firmly onto the tape. When you have finished, the angled short ends will look like envelope flaps and the hem should appear clean and crisp. For a simple project, the checkerboard design is an excellent place to start. This classic pattern was used in early floor cloths. It was made in a variety of colors. You can try black and white, blue and green, red and yellow, or whatever color appeals to you. You may use a variety of paints, however acrylics are the easiest for cleanup. The pre-mixed craft paints are nice if you don't like to mix colors. They're ready to paint with right from the bottle. You can also use artist acrylic paints from a tube or bottle. Use a clear medium or paint extender to thin them. If you use acrylic paints too thick, you may notice cracking later on in the process. If you have cans of latex paint left over from a previous project, you may use that as well. Now you need to gather some brushes. To paint a checkerboard design, you may use a small foam brush, a stencil brush, or a flat artist brush. Painter's masking tape is very helpful for painting a checkerboard. It is handy for defining a crisp line. For best results, it's a good idea to seal the edge of the tape. Paint it with clear medium and let dry. The painter's tape is a low tack and will not pull the base paint off when you remove it. Matte medium or paint conditioner will be helpful for sealing masked lines, thinning paints, or creating glazes. Matte medium is an acrylic polymer available at the art supply store. Paint conditioner is somewhat thinner and is available at a paint store. For basics, you will need a water bucket, plastic lids or meat trays for paint mixing, paper towels, pencil, straight edge, art gum eraser, and scissors. Color inspiration can come from a variety of sources. Look for paint chips at the paint store, magazine photos, fabrics, wallpaper, or design books for color ideas that appeal to you. You will need 2 colors of paint for the checkerboard design and a third for the border. Select one color as the background color and paint the entire surface that color. This will make it faster for you when you go to print the remaining checks. You can brush the color on or rub it on with a sponge. I'm using a craft paint thinned with paint conditioner and a foam brush. This gives a nice blended effect. When you have covered the entire surface, set it aside to dry. Remember that the color checks you print on top will have to cover the base color, so give some thought to what might work the easiest. To draw the design, you will need to find the center point on each side of the floor cloth. Measure the first side and mark the center. Measure each of the other sides and mark the centers. Now measure off of each center mark and decide how big you want your checks to be. I'm using 6.5-inch checks centered on the center point of each side. This also leaves a small remainder for the border. Of course, you could make a larger border and allow a smaller measurement for the checks. Sometimes it helps to sketch the rug and measurements on scrap paper to determine the size and repeat of the design. Now pencil a line to connect each one of your measurements. When you have finished drawing the lines, your checkerboard design will be ready to paint. To create a crisp checkerboard, use this helpful tip. Mask off a square using your blue painter's tape. Run the tape around the check. And press it down firmly. Seal the edge with some clear matte medium and let dry. This will help give you a clean edge since the paint can't seep under the tape. Paint the check with your choice of a different color over the background. Use a foam brush, a flat brush, or a stencil brush and paint that is not too runny. I'm using a stencil brush with acrylic paint mixed with paint conditioner. A thin application of paint is best since it will be less likely to run under your taped edge. Brush from the outside to the inside to avoid bleeding. After you've painted the entire check, let it dry and remove the tape. Repeat this process until all of the checks in that color have been painted. Finish your checkerboard design with a nice border around the edge. The width will vary according to the size of your floor cloth and the size of your checks. You may decide to do several small borders. Run painter's tape along the edge of the border and press firmly into place. Seal the edges with matte medium and let dry. Then you'll be ready to paint your border. To paint your border, select a new color. It can be a different color from the ones you've already used. Once again, I'm using a stencil brush with acrylic paint and paint conditioner. When you have finished the border, set your floor cloth aside to dry. Finishing a floor cloth is not a difficult step, but sometimes it causes problems. Usually they occur with the varnish or the application of the varnish. Let's begin. First, take a clean damp sponge and gently wipe the surface to clean off dust, chalk, or other residue. Do not apply varnish over any dirt since it will become trapped on the surface. If you need to do any touch-up work, this is the time to finish it. To varnish, use a clean acrylic bristle brush and some clear acrylic varnish. Apply a thin coat over the entire surface. Brush the varnish in slow strokes, taking care not to overbrush areas. If air bubbles get trapped in the varnish, they may look white when the varnish dries. Let the varnish dry and then repeat the process. The number of coats will vary depending on the product and the painted surface. Generally, 3 or 4 coats will be enough if the surface is smooth. You may apply more for heavy wear, but do not build up a thick surface or it may crack later. After the varnish is dry, apply paste wax on top. This is a good precaution against dirt. It will seal the varnish from air so that the finish is harder and it will keep dirt from sticking to the varnish. You will find it at your local hardware store. It comes in different brands, but for light colored floor cloths, the clear white wax is best. This is sometimes called bowling alley wax. It is also used over faux finishes. Apply a thin coat over the surface with a small rag and circular motions. Let it air dry for several minutes until it hardens. Then buff with a clean rag. Your floor cloth is ready to go on the floor. Floor cloths are a popular choice for decorating bare floors. They are easy to clean, and with proper care, they should provide years of use. You know that a floor cloth is made of simple materials, canvas, paints, and sealants, but a well-constructed floor cloth is also durable. A floor cloth is a rug well suited for any room. They are best on wood, linoleum, concrete, and some types of tile floors. Don't use it over carpet. The carpet underneath would crush under the weight of walking and cause the painted surface to bend. Before placing your floor cloth on the floor, vacuum and damp mop the floor to remove any particles of dirt. Even a small particle can telegraph through the painted surface, causing a bump to be seen. If this does happen, flip the corner of the rug back to find the bump and remove the particle with your finger. You will need a thin non-skid pad to put under your floor cloth, or you can choose non-skid rug tape. When the floor is ready, lay the floor cloth in place. To clean, sweep the dirt off the floor cloth and out from under the edges. Wipe clean with a damp sponge or mop. Use a little soft soapy water or white vinegar and water. For tough dirt, a mild cleanser is fine. Avoid strong cleansers that may react with the varnish. If you clean often, you may need to re-wax occasionally, but not too often or the canvas could get slippery. If you notice wear on the edge of your canvas, simply take a little paint on a sponge and gently rub over the area. If you need to do more touch-up, you will need to wash the surface well with hot water to remove excess wax. This would also be necessary if you re-varnish. For long-term storage, roll the floor cloth or store flat under a bed. If you roll it, try to use a large diameter tube and roll it on with the paint side out. Now let's look at other design possibilities and different tools you might enjoy trying. You will begin to see design inspiration everywhere. Borders on stationery are a good source, along with ideas from fabrics and wallpaper. Again, you can save pictures from magazines for future use. Collect your design ideas and store them in a folder for future painted rugs. You will also find lots of other painting tools at your local craft store. Each one will give you a chance to add other textures or different motifs to your floor cloths. Look for rubber combing tools, paint erasers, sponge pouncers, rubber or foam stamps, stencils, paint pens, and sponges. This will give you a broad selection of choices for your startup toolkit. Each of these tools has something special to offer. Let's look at them. Rubber combing tools are a great choice to create texture. You can paint a section of color, let it dry, and paint another color over the top. Then lightly comb. Paint erasers are fun and easy. You can paint a small section and draw with the eraser while it's still wet. If you like to draw, this may be the tool for you. Sponge pouncers are a favorite in my workshops. They are actually a stenciling applicator, but if you load 2 colors of paint on each side of the sponge, you can get a nice effect with stamping. Press, turn slightly, then lift straight up. It gives a 3-dimensional look. Rubber and foam stamps are available in many different motifs. They are very easy to work with. Brush the paint onto the stamp for best results. Stencils are easy to make or buy pre-cut and can be used in borders or overall patterning. Sponges come in handy for lots of uses. Sea sponges might be your choice for a little texture, but you can also use synthetic household sponges. Sponges can be cut in shapes for stamping. They're also handy for mistakes. Paint pens are another favorite in workshops. They can be used to clean up paint lines with a crisp, clean line. They're also great to write with if you want to incorporate a poem or favorite saying. Or they can be handy if you want to trace a line drawing onto your floor cloth. Use any brand as long as it is waterproof and will not bleed when you apply varnish. Test them first. Laundry markers are a great substitute and easy to find. Brushes come in a variety of sizes. Foam brushes are always handy for background work, small checks, or blending. Several choices of artist brushes will also be handy. I prefer the short handles to paint with, but the preference is really more about how you paint and what feels comfortable to you. I would have a wide flat, some soft rounds, and a stencil brush for starters. I use the flat bristle for cross-hatching a textured background. Long tails are good for swirls, soft rounds for dots, and the stencil brush for masked off areas. Transferring your design to canvas is as simple as using a pencil to mark out checks. A light touch is best if you want to cover your paint marks. White chalk works well on colored spaces and wipes clean with a damp sponge. Graphite paper is good for transferring an image if you find a design that you would like to trace. When you're designing your new floor cloth, you may even want to make a paper pattern to see if it will fit on the floor and how the design placement might work out. Let's look at some common problems that are easy to avoid. A good hem is the best way to control curling in a floor cloth. If the hem is not strong enough, the canvas may scuff up and curl at the corners. This is a problem with unhemmed canvas or a flimsy canvas with little hem. The hem is very important to the success of your work. Cracking is another common problem. You may see a floor cloth with large cracks across the surface. This is usually an indication that the varnish is too brittle or thick, or possibly the paint layers were too thick. If the varnish is brittle, it will cause the surface to draw up and curl or separate. If the paint is too thick, it may not flex well. Use thinner applications of paint or gesso primer. Try the most flexible varnishes like the ones at the art supply store or the craft store. These will be softer and less likely to crack, but they will require the wax to protect them. Ripples can occur at any time. Priming raw canvas with primer that is too watery may cause puckering if unstretched. You might try a thicker primer. Rippling also occurs on pre-primed canvas when something watery is applied to the unprimed side. This happens because it was primed, stretched, and under tension. Avoid watery glue, varnish, or rubber backing with pre-primed canvas, and use products that spray on or dry quickly. If you have a ripple in your finished floor cloth, You may try putting it in the sun to warm up and flatten it under heavy weights. A ripple on the hem can be repressed with the carpet tape roll. A small change in the products you use may result in a larger problem. Take notes and you will be able to go back and correct any problems that have occurred. I hope these tips will help you make better floor cloths. As you begin to enjoy your first floor cloth in your home, other ideas will come to you for new floor cloths. You will become inspired to use your own colors and designs to create more rugs. Take what you have learned in this video along with other painting or decorating techniques and let your imagination go. Enjoy making floor cloths as you explore this practical art form.
For further reading about floor cloths, please read the complete book of floor cloths or Painting Floor Cloths, 20 Canvas Rugs to Stamp, Stencil, Sponge, and Spatter in a Weekend. For information about workshops, visit Kathy's website at www.kathycooperfloorcloths.com.